Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to the graduates, to the faculty and staff, President Schmoke, to the families and loved ones who helped make this day possible, to Mr. State's Attorney, to everyone gathered here in celebration, and most importantly, congratulations to the class of 2026. Today is a day of achievement, but it is also a day of witness, because commencement ceremonies are one of the few moments in our lives where we pause to collectively recognize transformation. Not potential, not intention, not promise, transformation. The people sitting before us today are not the same people who walked onto this campus. Some of you arrived here confident and focused. Others came uncertain. Some of you enrolled right after college. Others started this journey after years away from classrooms, balancing jobs, caregiving, financial pressure, military service, grief, parenthood, illness, the complicated realities of adult life. Many of you were the first in your families to earn a college degree, and now many of you are the first to earn a graduate degree. And all of you carry not only your own hopes, but the hopes of entire generations. That matters, especially now. Commencement speakers are usually expected to stand at podiums just like this and offer uncomplicated optimism about the future. But it's important we tell the truth. You are graduating into a complicated world, one that is divided, exhausted, angry, unequal, and uncertain. A world where technology is accelerating faster than wisdom, where many people feel isolated despite being more connected than ever, where institutions are being questioned and trust is fragile, and where too many communities still toil under the weight of poverty, violence, discrimination, and disinvestment. These are the challenges of leadership, and you are the leaders to confront them. Leaders who persevere no matter the cost, leaders who move forward even when life demands otherwise, leaders who adapt, who sacrifice, who persist, leaders like you forged by your unique individual stories fortified here at UB. Today I want to share 3 stories that inform my leadership journey in the hope that there's something there that may be helpful to you in your journey. I grew up in an interracial family in the 1980s and 90s. My parents met in Georgia, where they were one of the few openly interracial couples. The climate was hostile, and so 8 months pregnant with me, they left. We bounced around, moving 8 times in 5 years, moving in and out of apartments and employment, trying to figure out where we fit. After years of searching, we settled here in Maryland, where I attended public schools just south of the city in Glen Burnie, the Dirty Burn. And like so many people who grew up with parents who worked incredibly hard to put food on the table, I was keenly aware of their sacrifice and did everything I could to honor it. I excelled academically. I played every sport, joined every club, leapt at every opportunity to volunteer. From food kitchens to homeless shelters to paper routes to VFWs, I was that kid. I was exhausting. But I was also exhausted because the schools I went to were tough. And so one day during my senior year, I decided that I needed a day off. I was going to skip school for the very first time in my life. So after first period, I told a friend that I was going to IHOP because I wanted pancakes. So I moseyed off campus, walked down Ritchie Highway, and bounded into IHOP, where to my complete shock, my entire second period class was already seated. The servers had even pulled together tables so that everybody could sit together. One student, Steve, a freshman, ordered the crab omelet. I was horrified. I knew Steve. Steve did not have money for a crab omelet. "What are you doing here?" "We heard you were coming, so we decided to join." I felt a pit in my stomach. I pulled the waitress aside, canceled the order, especially that damn crab omelet, because that sucker was like $20. And before I could direct everyone back to campus, my flip phone rang. It was my friend. "You're in big trouble." the school called the police. Right on cue, the police busted into the restaurant, escorted me outside, and threw me in the back of a police car. Before I knew it, I was sitting in front of our vice principal, who wanted to know what the hell I was thinking. My brain raced for excuses, but words just jumbled out of my mouth before he cut me off. Leadership isn't a uniform you can take on and off whenever you feel like it. You're not a leader because you're captain of a sports team or the president of the Honor Society. Those are titles. They don't matter. Plenty of people with titles never lead. You're a leader because of how you act. Every decision, every single choice, that is leadership. People follow you because they believe in your choices. And when you decided to skip school today, 25 other kids thought they could skip too. In that moment, I finally understood that leadership isn't about title or position. It isn't about power or authority. It's about choices, decisions, actions, the example you set, and the belief that grows in others when you make choices to achieve a common goal. The vice principal was right. People do what they see done, repeatedly, every day. Leadership, like excellence, is what we repeatedly do. It is not an act, but a habit. And everyone can lead because everyone can make decisions to advance the greater good. That is the fundamental building block of leadership. Fast forward nearly 20 years, and I'm sitting in front of the newly elected governor of Maryland as his chief of staff. We're in transition, defining our plan for governing the state. I asked Governor Moore, what is our number one priority? How do we know when we will be successful? His response was immediate and unequivocal. We must end the violence epidemic in Baltimore. So here's how it works. The governor sets the vision, the direction. The chief of staff makes it happen. And so to do so, I needed to answer a simple but difficult question. What drove the violence in our communities, and how do we stop it? Suffice to say, there are many drivers of violence, but as I dug into our government's response, one thing was blindingly obvious. Our public safety system, the state and city governments, the prosecutors and public defenders, our community organizations, was utterly disconnected from itself. The state didn't talk to the city or fully resource it, and every element of our system struggled to work together. Instead of achieving a common goal, a culture of slights and grudge holding had taken hold. Worse yet, the governor's direction to move differently was met with quiet resistance in nearly every quarter. Folks were dug in. Then came the Brooklyn mass shooting. More than 30 young people were shot in the most horrific example of mass violence in our state's history. 2 young people lost their lives. Immediately after the shooting, the governor and I spent the day in shock trauma meeting with survivors and their families. We heard from young men and women, their bodies ripped apart and forever changed by bullets, and cried with them as we mourned all that they had lost. We heard from the doctors and nurses who triage Baltimore's violent reality every day, who shared that those 30 stories were far from unique. And everyone we met that day, every single person, challenged us to stop this from ever happening again. We left shock trauma fortified in our why, and from that point on, we led differently. To cut through the grudges and the slights, we reminded everyone of the generations of young people whose lives have been fundamentally changed or taken because of the unchecked violence. When confronted with their pain, people began to release all the ways they were used to working to embrace a new reality. And a valuable lesson emerged. People view change through the lens of loss. I'm gonna say that one more time. I want y'all to, if you take nothing else away, take this away. People view change through the lens of loss. To change anything, you have to confront feelings of loss in those you are leading. To overcome that feeling of loss, the loss of status, the loss of a program, the loss of a priority, resources that need to be allocated differently, people have to know for what they're sacrificing. And in this case, the why was obvious, but we collectively had grown numb to it. A violence epidemic was literally robbing us of our future, our children. That goal, a bigger why, gave us the motivation, bigger than ego or territory or anyone's individual interest, to actually change the world. Those young people in shock trauma taught me that if your why is big enough, you can tolerate anyhow. Look at what all you have gone through to reach this day. Your why was big enough to tolerate the late nights. As we rightly celebrate record declines in violence, we should never forget what it cost us, because it's the only way to ensure that we never go back. To close, I want to share more about a woman whose story has shaped the way I understand life and leadership. She was born in a small house that stood more from determination than stability. At times, as many as 10 people lived in that house. Her parents could not read or write. Her great-grandparents had been enslaved. And from an early age, she understood something that many people in this room understand intimately, that life does not always begin with fairness. She worked hard because she had to, not because it built character, not because it looked good on her resume, but because survival required it. Over the years, she worked many jobs: waitress, secretary, hospice care worker, customer service representative, and like many women of her generation, much of what she endured was never fully acknowledged or recognized. Precarious circumstances, difficult relationships, divorces, moments where stability evaporated in an instant, bankruptcies, having to start over from nothing. For many, that would have been the end of the story people expected of her, not because she lacked intelligence or capability, but because society often has a quiet way of deciding who gets to continue dreaming, especially if you're poor, especially if you're black, especially if you're a woman, especially if life interrupts your timeline. But at 51 years old, after years of struggle and sacrifice, she made the decision to go back to school, just like every single one of you. Not because it was convenient, it wasn't. Not because she suddenly had free time, she had none. She went because somewhere inside of her was a refusal to believe that her story was fully written. She finished school and became a special education teacher, and she devoted the rest of her life to children who were overlooked, underestimated, children who needed to see possibility in them before they could see it in themselves. Not for recognition or prestige, but because she believed that all people deserve dignity, opportunity, patience, and hope. That woman was my mother. And I stand before you fully aware that everything I've accomplished traces directly back to her courage. I have had incredible opportunities. I have been so blessed, y'all. And if I've learned anything from those experiences, it is this: resumes can tell you what someone has achieved. They rarely tell you what has formed them. And the most important lessons I've learned about leadership in life did not come from elite institutions. They came from watching a woman who understood how to move forward despite the exhaustion. Someone who understood sacrifice, who kept faith in the future even when she had little evidence that the future kept faith in her. I think about my mother and her example every day, but I feel closest to her presence when I'm in rooms like this one, because many of you know something about struggle, what it means to persist when everything is uncertain, to succeed without perfect conditions, and that is what has made you uniquely qualified to shape the future. We have a tendency in our culture to celebrate those whose journeys appear smooth, the prodigy, the straight line, the uninterrupted ascent. And there's nothing wrong with excellence that arises easily. But history teaches us something else. Those who transform our world are those who have had to fight to remain hopeful, who adapted because life demanded it, who knew how to rebuild because they first rebuilt themselves. Your journey and this incredible institution has forged you into precisely the kind of leader we need now. And as you leave this campus and step into your next chapter, remember, never let the condition of the world convince you that your contribution is insignificant. Every meaningful movement, institution, business, classroom, family has been shaped by a small group of people who just showed up every single day. Keep leading. Never be ashamed of your path. Life is not a race on a single timeline. Sometimes the people who take the longer road develop the endurance necessary to take the harder path. Lead with your why. Inspire people towards the larger goal by connecting them with the why big enough to move the mountains of change. And never underestimate what your presence means. When you walk across this stage today, you are not only changing your life, You are expanding what feels possible to all the people watching you. Younger siblings, children, neighbors, co-workers, entire families. In each of your lives, someone is going to attempt something difficult one day because they saw you do it first. That is how transformation spreads. Quietly, personally, generationally. My mother, sitting under a dim lamp at a kitchen table, writing papers and finishing problem sets at 51 years of age, could not have imagined that the boy watching her would give a commencement address to a collection of incredible graduates. But that's the extraordinary thing about courage. Its impact almost always travels farther than the person carrying it can see. So graduates, the world you are entering is imperfect, but it is not hopeless. And while you are still rising, your journey has already proved something important. You know how to continue. And that ability to adapt, to persevere, to believe beyond evidence may be the most valuable form of leadership we have left. Congratulations, class of 2026. We believe in you, and we are proud of you, and we cannot wait to see what you build next. Well done.